Fatsalova to all of our viewers today. A special Fatsalova to all of our Year 12 biology students. Today's lesson, we will be focusing on strand 4, on plants. Our lesson today will focus on the different parts of a flower. We will also discuss the different functions of these parts. And lastly, we will look at the definition of pollination. Before we start our lesson today, let's have a recap. Do you remember the definition for photosynthesis? Okay, let's write down the equation together. Photosynthesis is, yes, you are right. It is the way that plants make their food. So the raw materials are CO2 plus H2O with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll. And then you get glucose, which is C6H12O6 plus oxygen. Carbon dioxide plus water with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll. And then your products are glucose and oxygen. So always remember, these are your products. And these are your raw materials. So just like any other science equation, without the raw materials, you can never reach the products. And that is why photosynthesis is very important to us humans, because we rely on the plants for, that's right, for the oxygen. And as much as we rely on the plants for oxygen, they also rely on us for, yes, the carbon dioxide. So we give the carbon dioxide to the plants in order for them to do this process, photosynthesis, and in return, yes, we get oxygen. Where do you think the oxygen goes? Why do we need oxygen? You are correct. We need oxygen for the process of respiration. That is a process where we break down our food in order to, yes, produce energy. Okay, let's go on today's lesson. Today's lesson, we will be looking at the different parts of a flower. So this is a picture of a flower. If you have time, you can look at in your garden and see the different types of flowers. Always remember that flowers, they are part of a plant, one of the organs of a plant. And these are their different parts. The first thing you need to understand that the plant or the flower has two main parts. It has a female part, and it also has a male part. So under the female parts, it is called a pistil. A pistil. The pistil is made out of 3 different parts. It is made out from the stigma, the style, and the ovary. The male part is made out of the anther, the filament, and the petals. Okay, let's look at the pistil. The pistil is the female part. What is the definition or what is the function of the pistil? The pistil is a female reproductive part of a flower made up of a stigma, style, ovary, and ovals. It plays a central role in reproduction by receiving pollens and facilitating fertilization. Receiving pollens and facilitating fertilization. So that is one of the main importance of a pistil. The second part is the stigma. So this is on the top. The stigma is a sticky top part of the pistil that receives the pollens during pollination. The style, so this is the long part in the middle, the style connects the stigma to the ovary. It acts as a pathway for pollen tubes to reach the ovary for fertilization. The ovary and the oval, so this is the bottom part. The ovary is a part of the pistil that contains the ovals. After fertilization, it develops into a fruit, and the ovals become the seed. So always remember, the ovary, it becomes the fruit, and the ovals become the seed. The stamen, which is the male part of a flower, consists of an anther and a filament. It produces and it presents pollens. So during pollination, this is where the pollens are on top of the anther, and they are transferred to the stigma. And that's how pollination occurs. So it is a transfer of pollens from the anther to the stigma. The anther is a part of the stamen that produces and releases pollens, just as I mentioned. The anther is where the pollens are released. The filaments is a stalk that holds the anther. So this long part here is the filament. Petals are the colorful parts of the flowers that attract pollinators, such as insects and birds. And the sepal is the last part, so it's at the bottom, and this is the part that holds together the petals. Okay, so remember the different functions of each part. But in order for you to understand, let's go and grab a flower. So I'll give you 1 minute to grab a flower from your garden. Have you grabbed a flower yet? Good. It's always good to grab an hibiscus or aute, because these flowers, you can easily see the different parts that we have already talked about. You can see the beautiful petals. These are the petals. You can see the filaments. So the filaments are these long at the top, and they are holding the anther. Always remember, so the filament is holding the anther, and the pollens are, yes, they are inside the anther. So if you want to see the pollens, yep, you can just give it a little dab on your hand, and then you see there's like a dust-looking, yes, and that is the pollen. Or these are the pollens that are inside the anther. This long part, it is called the, yes, it is a style, and this part is called the sepal. Good. A very interesting part of the flower is at the bottom. If you take off the sepal, and then you touch in the center, how does it feel? Yes, it's quite sticky. It's quite sticky. You can have a taste, and it tastes very sweet. Do you know the name of this sweet liquid? Yes, it is called the nectar. The nectar is one of the important parts of a flower that attracts pollinators in order for the pollens to reach the stigma. Remember, some flowers, they need agents. So agents are the helpers that help transfer the pollen from the anther to the stigma. That's correct. So on the top, you have the stigma, and on the pollens are on the side. So when they are transferred to the stigma, and that is what you call, yes, you call that pollination. Pollination. At the bottom of the sepal, you can always remove around the sepal, and you have inside, you have the ovum, the oval. In the oval, you have the seeds. So you can do this at home, and you can see the different little seeds, and you found those in the, yes, in the oval. So every time you see a flower, especially out there, you know that the different colors or the different petals, they attract agents or pollinators in order for them to help or assist them to transfer the pollen from the anther to the, yes, to the pistil in order for pollination to occur. Why do you think pollination is important? Pollination is important, just as we talked about it when we read the functions. It is important in order for the seeds and also the fruits to, yes, for the tree to bear fruits and seeds. Because without the flowers, seeds and fruits may not occur, or they cannot come about. So always remember, flowers, these are beautiful, different colored flowers. They are pollinated by insects or by birds. Have you seen a wind-pollinated flower? Okay, the next time you go in your car and you see a lautalotalo tree, yes, do we know what a lautalotalo tree is? And the English name for lautalotalo is a spider lily. So the next time you see a spider lily flower, grab it and always make sure that you look at the flower. The flower is what color? Yes, it is white. It is white, and it has a very large anther. It has a very large anther and very long filaments. So in comparison to our flower that we are looking at today, wind-pollinated flowers, they are very dull looking, or they do not attract insects or birds. They have very long filaments and very large anthers, but their pollens are very light. So they are pollinated, yes, by the wind, So the next time you go in your car and you see a lautalotalo tree or spider lily, always remember to look at the flowers, and that is an example of a wind-pollinated flower. So hopefully that you have learned something new today. Today's lesson, again, was on pollination, the different parts of a flower, and why is pollination important. Okay, now you already know that there are two types of flowers. There are wind-pollinated flowers and insect or bird-pollinated flowers. There are also two types of agents, as we talked about before. These agents are insects or birds. So always remember, so the reason why there are a lot of bees and a lot of birds around flowers, they are attracted to, yes, they are either attracted to the petals, how beautiful the petals are, or they are attracted by the nectar, that sweet scent inside the flowers. So as they are attracted to the flowers, they don't know that their wings or their bodies, they get attached to the pollens. And if that pollen is transferred on top of the stigma, that's where pollination occurs. But before we finish our lesson, always remember that there are two types of pollination. We have our self-pollination and our cross-pollination. It's all in the word, so it's quite self-explanatory. Self meaning it is pollinated by itself. And cross, that means there is a transfer going across. So look at the example below. So this is the same plant, and it has two different flowers. If the pollen from the same or a different flower of the same plant is transferred to another flower, that is an example of a self-pollination. Self-pollination. It is self-pollination because it is the same plant. If it is a pollen from the same flower, so the same flower, its pollen is transferred to its own stigma, that is also an example of self-pollination. But if the pollen is transferred to another plant of the same species, so another flower of the same species, this is cross-pollination. Cross-pollination. So it needs to be the same species. So for example, a hibiscus or an aute can only pollinate another aute. It cannot pollinate a different flower or a different species. So as you can see here, just as a recap, always remember, if the flower or the pollen of the same flower is transferred to the stigma, that is an example of self-pollination. If the pollen is transferred to a different flower of the same plant, will transfer the pollen. It is also an example of self-pollination. Self-pollination. Sa ivanga na ua ese la au ai kukusa. So it's the same species. O le aute le aute. Lea la will transfer the pollen. A le aute lea anga ele aute lea. O whaingoa la e le method nga po le type nga o le cross-pollination. So this is the beauty of having hermaphrodites. So flowers are hermaphrodites. We all know the meaning of hermaphrodites. So hermaphrodites are organisms that have both male and female parts. So that is the beauty of flowers, having both male and female parts, because they can self-pollinate, or their pollination can occur rapidly or fast, or it can also cross-pollinate. Because this is an example of sexual reproduction in plants, that means it causes variation. Variation. So always remember, sexual reproduction, it leads to variation. In plants, when we talk about sexual reproduction in plants, we are talking about the process of pollination. Pollination, it has agents. So it could either be a bird or an insect that helps transfer the pollen from the anther to the stigma, or it could self-pollinate or cross-pollinate. Okay, that's all that we have time for today. Hopefully that this has helped you during these times. For revisions for this strand plants, always remember that our flowers, they tell us what type of pollination that they carry out, either wind-pollinated flowers or insect or bird-pollinated flowers. Until next time, Tofasa 4.